Okay, so this video here is going to be a bit of a complementary piece to the notes on the website. On the website, I did a detailed rundown of how to structure the main body, the paragraphs in there, and what to put in the introduction and conclusion. But here I'm going to talk about how to plan out your essay in advance to make it all that much easier. When you start writing, it can be a bit easy to maybe go off topic and lose your train of thought sometimes. But if you plan it out in advance, the whole thing gets much easier, okay? So, we'll get into that now. I mentioned in the introduction, you're just going to want to do a brief overview, nothing too major. For the purposes of this question, we're going to talk about the theme of love in Spirited Away. And we're going to treat that as our question for the sake of doing a sample, okay? So in the introduction, you're going to talk about why love is important in the film, how it's, related to the themes of the story, what moments in particular capture the message of love. Very briefly, though, you're not going to go into detail here. It's just an overview of why you think it's important in the story. You're going to finish that introduction with a sentence that'll kind of sum up the whole idea of the essay. Might be something like, this essay will discuss the theme of love in Spirited Away. Something simple like that. Simple is always better. When you get complicated, you're just stacking the odds against yourself. Keep it simple, and you'll do fine. Down into the main body, you're going to want a certain number of paragraphs. There's no real set number. 5 is usually a good number to go for. What we're going to do is decide what we're going to put in these paragraphs, how many of them we're going to put in, and it'll make the whole thing easy. So we're going to put love here in the center, because we know that that's what we're going to talk about. We'll put it in the center and put a circle around it. So what we're going to do now is look back on the story and think, what moments highlight love as important in this story? So the first thing that I can think of is the love that Chiriho, the main character, has for her family. So I'll draw a line out here to the side and I'll write family. You can write whatever works for you that will just kind of remind you of what this paragraph is going to be. So this one word is going to be an entire paragraph. We're going to expand that out. The second thing I can think of would be the love that Chiriho has for Haku and the love that Haku has for Chiriho. So we'll write Haku and I said Chiriho, but it's actually Chihiro. Sorry for that. Haku and Chihiro. So we'll draw the line out and put the circle around it, okay? Next, the thing I can think of would be the fact that love is what broke Haku's curse. Love breaks the curse. I apologize for my messy handwriting. I hope you can read it okay. And finally, I'll put down Yubaba. Yubaba, as you know, is the villain of the story. And despite being a villain, she still shows great love for her son. So it shows that even though, this character is evil, she's still capable of love. So what we're going to do now is we know the whole structure of our essay. We know that these will be our paragraphs. What we need to do now is turn these words into paragraphs. We're going to look at family first, since that's our first one. And we're going to follow the pair method, okay? P stands for point. So, our point here is that the family in the story highlights love as a theme. So that's our point already covered. We'll tick that off. Our evidence, we're going to write why or where exactly in the story we see this. So our evidence might be Chihiro's goal in the whole story. So Chihiro wants to turn her family back into humans, and she wants to escape with them. So that's our evidence. Our analysis will be, she wouldn't do this if she didn't love her family. You could even say that maybe the family and Chihiro would be stuck in the spirit world if it wasn't for this love that drove her to free them. You can get creative here as long as you can find some evidence to back it up. And the relate section down here, the final one of the or the final one of the pair, is relate. So we're going to just state why the things we've mentioned here are relevant to the question. So here we'll just say the points that I've made about family love in the story highlight love as a theme in Spirited Away. And something like that covers all four. It ticks all the boxes. It makes sure that we're clear and that we're communicating, that we understand the story, and it makes it easy on you because you don't have to worry, what am I going to put in this paragraph? You know what you're going to put in it because you know as long as you know the story, you can make one of these for anything. We're going to do this pair method for each one of our paragraphs, and before you know it, you have the introduction done and you have the main body fully done as well. All that's left now is the conclusion. The conclusion is where you're just going to tie all these paragraphs together just in a few brief lines, a short paragraph, and you're going to explain that, you know, all of these together work really well to show love as a theme, or whatever your question is. You're just going to relate it back here. As long as you follow the pair method, especially the relate one down the bottom, that makes the conclusion really easy because you don't need to think about what will I add here. The trick is that you're not really adding a whole lot here. You're just pointing out that everything you've done before this is really good at communicating that love is important in the story. With that, you finish out the whole question, really. And this structure works for just about any type of question. This was a theme question we used, for example. But if you had to discuss the story, discuss a certain moment, discuss a character's personality, anything like that, you can use the same structure and it works just as well. You're going to need evidence, you're going to need a point, you're going to need to analyze that evidence in relation to the question, and you're going to need to point out, yeah, this makes sense for the question. For every question you do. So following this structure, it makes it really, really easy to make a clear, focused answer. I hope that this was helpful and helps with any questions about Spirited Away as a film, but this structure can be used beyond that as well, so I hope it was helpful. Thanks for listening.